hey, we're back.
Yep. And Gary won.
Boo.
Well, I thought I was being crushed that entire game, and then like towards the end, I made somewhat of a comeback, but not enough.
That monster killing was ridiculous. Okay, so before I forget, Gary wanted us to make sure that we said that this was a big thumbs up for him. He very much enjoyed it. As did I. I was not disappointed in this at all. It's definitely, as a matter of fact, looking at the game when I was on the Kickstarter and all that kind of stuff and reading about it and feeling like it was something that was like, I actually thought it was going to be a little harder than it was.
Yeah.
Even like when you start looking at the rule books with how the whatever they're called in the the influence and stuff, how the influence works, and how getting the different I forget what they're called, but making the different colors, involving a color wheel in the game for, even though they're not, they all have their like courage and strength and all that kind of thing. They have their names, but I thought that was kind of unique.
Yeah, when I first looked at the rulebook, I was like, oh man, I'm a bit intimidated, because I was like, this looks pretty complex. And then when we actually sat down to play it, I was like, oh, it's not complex, it's just that there's a lot of different things that you can do.
Yep.
So.
Yep, it is not complex at all. And as a matter of fact, elaborating on what Jeb said, there's a lot of things to do. That's one of the beauties of the game, is because when you play, there could be an entire deck that doesn't even get touched.
Yeah.
Then there could be a deck you see a bunch of cards, but you're still not even going to go through the whole deck.
Yep.
Things like that. I thought it was brilliant the way, when I first sat down to play it, I'm like, oh my gosh, how in the world are you going to open all these, just like open the tiles and stuff? Because when you read it, you kind of don't realize how quickly that's going to happen. But, going the in-between spaces, almost every single turn, you are opening something new, unless you're backtracking.
Yeah, the whole map filled out really quick, except like one hex, because we never went to that side.
Gary and I, when we played two people, it opened even faster than we opened it. And I think some of that was because Gary and I knew a little bit more about the game than Jeb. So that did cause us to hesitate blowing out, because there was like, oh, wait a second, we know what that does. I want to take advantage of that right now while I can.
While I'm here.
But that being said, there's no way that stuff isn't going to come out, because most likely at some point in the game you need one of the tiles that's like a one of, or even if it's a two of, maybe it got revealed all the way on the other side of the board, and you don't want to play on the other side of the board.
Yeah, so you try to force it to try to get them out.
Come up. So if you watched us play, some of that stuff is making sense, and if you didn't, go watch a little bit of it, and you'll know what we're talking about. But I thought all the ways you can get points, and all the ways that you can move around the board, all the different cards you can get, the way that the landscape can change every single time, just made it wonderful, on top of the fact that, like we just said, mechanically it's really easy. So, what you got to add?
I know when I was playing it, it seemed a little bit difficult on like trying to screw other people over, just because of how much stuff there is. And if I saw Mickey was going for like monsters per se, and then I was like, oh well, I know monsters can generate a lot of stuff, and I want to screw them over. And then if I try to go for monsters as well, then it's kind of like the resources are a little bit limited. Like what is that special? The mastery, or I call it mastery, but it's the other thing where there's like only two of them in a 3-player game.
Oh, the proficiency.
Proficiency, yeah, because those can go pretty quick. And it's like, well, do I want to try to compete with Mickey in a color, or do I want to go another color and try to get a mastery in that, and then that way I'd get bonus points in the end. So it's to me it was like
there's a lot to do.
Yeah.
And in Jeb's defense, he got thrown into the game that we just played, like with very little knowledge. We brought him through a few turns, so he had the mechanics, and we started over and we just played. And one of the big things that I personally thought I told him, but either I didn't or he didn't remember, was that claiming a region or a land or whatever they're called in this game are victory points at the end if you control it, and he didn't realize that.
I thought it counted towards mastery counts, but it doesn't. It's actually you get.
It's actually 2 points,
Yeah.
like for everyone that you have control of at the end of the game. I don't know how much difference that would have made for him, because once he got that one card that was all about the monsters, and being able to kill them every single time and not lose his hero, it was a no-brainer. I mean, I don't know if he would have wasted the resources on it. Maybe a couple around him. Don't know if it would have made a difference or not. But earlier in the game, it could have made a huge difference. Yeah. And it could have made a big difference on what Gary and I did towards his side of the board, too, even though we kind of stayed on one side of the board. But we did fly over there towards the end because both him and I were trying to take over free land, so to speak. So if you had dropped some stuff, that would have hindered us, because then that would have cost us more resources.
Right.
Hopefully you've watched some of the gameplay, or you have no clue on what we're talking about. Also, if you are watching this much, then you probably get an idea of how we're talking about strategies and stuff. It's probably an indication that we did, on how much we did think it was a good game and liked it, because we don't always talk the strategy at the end and like, whoa, what was going on and what you could have done different. Doesn't need to be said, but I'll say it again in case you didn't watch component-wise.
Yeah, I was just
this thing is that. Just, hello FFG, you know what? This is, I don't even remember how much this was, but in comparison, you got all the storage containers, all the cardboard good, the art is great.
Everything fits nicely into the box.
Nicely in the box.
Not a huge wasted space in the box when you first open it, right?
I mean,
where it's like a deck of cards gets a box this big.
I mean, even the top of the main component tray holds the mastery tokens, and there's not even a reason for that. I mean, it's just an extra. Oh, wait, let me take the parts and just throw them in a box and sell it, because it's got Star Wars on it. Oh, wait, who's going to buy that? Shoot, it's me. It's true, but fantastic components, just like over the top good.
I really like the amount of cards for each deck in the game, because we play a lot of games where it's like, oh, you kind of like, you're through most of the deck in one play, and it's like, oh, it's not a ton of variety. In these decks, we saw, 2-3 cards of each of the decks?
Except for you at the end.
Yeah, with the
monster.
But even then, there was still a huge deck for the monsters that was left. And I'm like, replaying this, you're not going to get the exact same thing.
And in this box, there's two expansions, I think. Pretty sure there's 2 expansions in this. And then that purple box. Grab that, Jim. On the top of the comic book box.
Oh, I see.
And so this is what the Kickstarter was actually for, the leaders and alliances. So that brings a whole nother dimension to the game. And in this one, you have. Oh, Jeb, you need to teach me how to read upside down. I can't find it.
But
Anyway,
it says it's.
Yeah, make them look upside down. That's right.
No, it looks like there's.
So this has the
Guilds and
Guilds and
Monuments.
Monuments expansion, the Myths and Wonders expansion, the Treachery Mini expansion, and then some upgrades on components and stuff like that. So
Is this part of the game?
it was part. It came with.
I mean, you just had it on the box. I didn't know if it was.
That doesn't fit in this. Can you believe that? I'm like, there's like this corner that looks like it might.
But it's too small.
Just a teeny bit too small. It's where the scumbag goes. That's where I keep the scumbag. There's literally the bag in the game is called the scumbag. It's funny. That was another thing. That's an aside. The rule book actually has some pretty good humor in it. So anyways, so tons of content in here. Like Jeb said, just the base game, you could play over and over and over again. You are not going to see the same game twice. And then I'm definitely looking forward to trying some of the expansions, because with the expansions, since it's a set board, you have to take some of the tiles out and put new ones in.
Right.
That do different things, yet it tells you what staples to keep.
Right.
So I'm guessing a lot of times it's the ones that have 2 copies of it, and they may go down to 1.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that's every time. I'm just guessing because I haven't read it real thoroughly. But then in my mind, if you're taking away one of those, even though it's something new, well, now you've limited.
Yeah, you've made that.
You've made that thing that much more valuable on the other side of the board. Like even one of the inns where you can go in and get your whatever companion you want, whatever color that you have enough to afford. If all of a sudden there's only 2 inns, and you want however your game is developed, and like companions are your thing, that might hinder you.
And your opponent just conquered each of them, so now you're paying for them.
Now you have to go pay extra to conquer them back. Anyways, I don't. This is one of the ones that I don't have enough good things to say about it. So I'll let Jeb talk some more if he wants to, or he can get right into his things. Who should play, who shouldn't play, what's not to like, what things to remember, all that kind of stuff.
Let's go into that, because I don't think I have much more to say. I definitely don't think this is a beginner game. Nope. I mean, it is. The mechanics are simple once you learn them, but I feel like it's just way too intimidating for a first-time person, and I don't think people want to sit through it and listen to everything on their first go-around of a game, or if they're new to it. I would say it leans between like heavy and medium. That's where I would place it. I don't know about you.
I'd put it definitely more towards the medium. I think that if you had a beginner person that was just getting into board games, you played a few games with them and you realized that this was their thing, that they get stuff quickly and they want to play board games, I think you could get to this pretty quick. That's the way that I would put it. It's not a, it's not Mage Knight. It's not TI4 or 3 or whatever copy I have. It's not Deep Madness. It's not that. Because, like you said, the mechanics. There's a lot of. But even though there's a lot of stuff, when you read it, it's pretty self-explanatory.
Right. It's kind of like easy to learn, hard to master sort of thing. Because like I feel like if you got 4 people who knew this game in and out and they were playing, that'd
be crazy.
Yeah.
Then
the gears would be cranking in your head all the whole
Although
time,
I still think your turns would go pretty fast.
Yeah.
Because even though there's a lot to think about, there's kind of a limitation too. It's like, this is all I got to work with, and you have to move.
Right.
So, and honestly in the rule book, you have to move, and then the other 2 things are technically optional according to the rule book. We couldn't figure out why you wouldn't do everything, though.
Right.
Because there's kind of like a sub thing that's like, well, at least you get something. Anyhow, so definitely above a beginner, but I would lean a little bit more towards medium. Jeb, little bit more towards the a little more difficult or whatever, however you want to say it. So take that for whatever it's worth. No, not Jeb. I mean, like,
No,
it wasn't cutting on you. I was
no,
just
I'm
like,
just laughing. I was just like, well, whatever my opinion means to you guys.
yeah,
Like,
I didn't mean it like that.
No, I
didn't.
know. I was just laughing at myself.
So,
things to remember. You want to hop there?
yeah. I think it's this game also did a fantastic job with the cheat sheet and the rule book. So your cheat sheet literally has what you can do on your turn, and it has all the bonus actions you can do on your turn. When you're starting the game, just look at that sheet.
Mm-hmm.
Just look at that sheet. And when you come across something you don't know, over 90% of the time, it gives you a page number to go look at.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really easy to find the answer to stuff, too. I don't know if there was anything in this game that we were stumped on. I mean, we had to look stuff up, but it was quick, and the answer was right there.
Yeah, it's not like we sat there for like 10 minutes trying to find an answer.
Debated things. So, that's... I think that would be... My biggest thing would be the bonus actions. Don't forget about those. Because, you know, that's how you make your different colors, and quite a few other things. I can't remember everything off the top of my head on what some of the bonus actions were. But remember, they're, like, you can just do them. They don't count against your 3 actions that you can do. They're, as the word indicates, a bonus. So have at it, and don't forget to do them because they're important.
Yeah.
You know, it's like the claiming the proficiencies or the masteries or whatever. That's pretty. Well,
and
not
making
the masteries, but
yeah,
that's end game. But,
the when you form the new color with 2 of them. Like, because I was forgetting to do that a lot, where I was like, oh, I can do that any point on my turn.
That's
it's
what
a bonus.
I meant by making a color, Jim.
I didn't hear that. I was thinking of the next thing
See,
to say.
he doesn't ever listen to me. He just looks at me like this, and then, wait, he stopped talking. I should add something now. I don't remember what he said, so I'll throw something in. How about the colors, Mickey?
The last 20 years of my life is just nodding to people. Like, I understand.
Okay.
For me, one of the
I'm
things...
gonna drink some more now.
One of the things we forgot to do was to check the win conditions every round. Because we just kind of forgot about them. Like, we all got kind of in our own zones trying to play the game.
Yep.
And then it just so happened that I was, like, looking to the side, and I was like, oh,
This
what are
happened.
the other things? And I was like, oh, that already happened.
And we caught it in the round that it happened.
Yeah, it was just a little bit afterwards, but it was still in the round, so it wasn't like we actually played a full new round.
Yep.
So,
so that was that's a really, really good point, because when you start, it's pretty... You have in your head, right, it's 2 to start, but and you have those pretty good.
Yep.
And then even when the next one comes up, I still think you're kind of remembering.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things that tricked us up on the one that we had, though, I think was, it was kind of weird because you had to be watching the board for 6 cubes to be on one of the secondary colors. And it happened, and like Jeb said, we were right at the end of the game, and everybody was kind of scrambling to do stuff. And then we realized that it had already happened, but we were in what should have been the final round, so it didn't. I don't think we ended up having to backtrack anything.
Nope, it just meant that the game ended quicker in our view because we had already played most of the final round.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
that
was the big one for me because
that's a good point. We had a tendency in this, I think it was the first time we played it. I don't think we did it during the recording. I think Gary and I did it more than what happened in this game. But grabbing the wrong piece, it was harder to distinguish with just the base. Then that's why we actually, we actually told you guys at the beginning of gameplay that we used, even though they're not what it's for, we used the colored triangle in our character base or our faction base, whatever it is in this, to move around the board, just because we thought it would be more visually pleasing on camera. Don't know if it was, but it actually made it a little bit easier for yourself too. And I think that's just one of those things you would get used to, because the upgraded tokens in this are metal, and the hues of the metal are very close. I mean, it's not like you can't distinguish it, but you have to remember to look at your base and I don't know, maybe we're just silly, but it's just easy to grab.
Yeah,
like,
we weren't using them for anything specific, so it was like, might as well make it easier so we don't.
And I think when Gary and I played is that we ended up close together and just grabbed the wrong thing and started moving it. I don't think it really hurt it was our learning game. It didn't hurt us too much. But those are the only things I can think of off the top of my head to remember. Couldn't tell you in the other games if there's more or not, because we haven't gotten into the expansion, so I don't know.
Yeah, leave a comment if you want to see us play that.
Please leave a comment.
Because Gary would definitely be up for playing it again with an expansion as well. I mean, he'd play it without the expansion too. So. Yeah,
same here. Who wouldn't like this game? I think, like Jeb pointed out, this isn't don't bring this out for your first, like, hey, let's play a game to people that you've never gamed with before. I don't think that's the thing.
Don't bring it to the beach, right?
Don't bring it to the beach. If you have a gaming club, okay, bring this game. It'll be pretty easy to teach, pretty quick. If you don't like a sort of strategy / area control, I would say the biggest thing about this game is you kind of got to think on your feet pretty quick. Right, like right out of, within a couple turns, you kind of need to know what direction you're at least going to try to go. That doesn't mean your plan's going to work out and you might not have to switch gears, but I think pretty quickly you're going to have an idea based on your secret card and based on how some of the tiles are coming out, what you're going to try to do early, and then you almost are going to kind of stick to that path. Not necessarily, but you're going to have an overall thing that's going to dominate, and there might be like, ooh, I can grab a point over here, but this is what I'm really going to try to do.
And there's also times where it's like on the fly where you have your overall mindset, and then you're like, oh, I really need to stop by here, and then I'll stop by here, and then before you get to here, Mickey's already stopped there, claimed it, and now it's going to cost you more resources to actually do what you wanted, and that wasn't part of your plan. So
yeah, and then you have to decide, is it still worth it to do it?
Right. So
like, because it might be like if that's your secret, the part of your secret card that's worth 7.
Yeah, then
it's probably worth doing.
Right.
All right, so there's definitely those types of decisions. Like test run game, neither of us vindicated for Gary and I, neither of us vindicated our character. I wanted to see how that worked. I knew the mechanic that would get it to happen quicker, and it just so happened that it came out in front of me pretty fast in the game that we played. So I did it, and let me tell you, having the vindicated character is a huge help. It really is. So, you keeping that on?
No, I'll probably cut
that.
If you want me to keep it,
no, that's okay. So anyhow, the vindicated character is pretty nice. Getting those, being able to yank 2 of the primary colors and not have to activate is really good. Well, I mean, not have to pay to activate. I shouldn't
Right.
say it. I still had to activate, not pay to activate. So I don't know. I could go on and on and on. I started talking about activation, and now I could talk about all the different companions. Those were really cool.
Yes.
You had
they
some,
are all unique.
They're really neat.
Yeah, and their synergy with other things.
Yes.
Like Mickey had a thing going. I was like, man, that's a nice combo.
Yep. Yeah. So I could, like I said, I could go on and on and on. So I'm not gonna. This is definitely. This won't be leaving my collection until I'm not playing games anymore. That would be the only time that it would go away, for me.
Or Flood.
Let's not. That's a mean thing to say.
It's because it happened to him before.
Ouch. Ouch.
Just keep it on the top shelf.
Fortunately, I did not lose a lot.
Right.
I only really, actually, I got a new box from Simon. Unfortunately, I never heard from Greater Than Games, and I had to buy a new copy of Spirit Island, because that's one of my favorites. And then I don't even think I ever emailed Days of Wonder, because I lost Yamatai.
Oh yeah.
And Jeb and I played that, and we liked it. And
Yeah.
then it was like, and we wanted to revisit it because it's really thinky.
Mm-hmm.
It's really thinky. And so hopefully I can find that as a bargain. Unless, well, I mean, is Days of Wonder listening right now?
Yeah, they have their like.
Are we bookmarked?
Volume all the way up. They got a whole crowd around one monitor. They're like, oh, new booze and boards, and they mentioned us. Hot damn!
So I need a new copy of Yamatai, because it got ruined in a flood. Come on, people. Alright, that's all I got on Vindication. I will shut up now. I highly recommend, if you don't want to buy it, if somebody you know has a copy of it, and this seems like something that might be up your aisle, I think it will be up your aisle. It's really, it fires on all cylinders for me. And I'm done.
Alright. If you guys want to subscribe to us, please feel free to. Check out our other videos. We got a bunch of different games that we do episodes on. We also are trying to get some series out as well, so that is more of like episodic things.
Yep. So then, the series right now, Arkham Horror, and
I just put the end of that up already, so that's finished.
It's still going to keep going because we love that game. Arkham Horror, the card game.
Yeah.
Just to be clear.
Gen 7's wrapping up. I think there's a few videos left, if it's not already done.
7, and of course we always have Gloomhaven going, because that'll probably be until we both die, until that's done. Hey, you know what? We'll throw it out here in case somebody actually watches these to the end. So we're contemplating a Deep Madness series, a Seventh Continent series, and I think we had something else that was potential.
I wanted to do the Forbidden Fortress.
Oh yeah, which is part of
Shadows of Brimstone
series. So if there's one of those that you guys like want us to push to the top, let us know. And we have tons of games down here that we would do, that we could too. So if there's something that we didn't mention that maybe you want to see, put that in a message too, and maybe one of us owns it.
Yeah.
So, alright, that's it. I got nothing else.
Alright, see ya.
See ya.
Boards and Booze, Booze and Boards, with Mickey and Jeb.